In my previous video, I talked about a woman who was waiting 9 months for a hearing in a provincial court matter because the provincial court system is just so overwhelmed. I argued that part of the problem was that the court doesn't charge any fees or costs of any kind to users. I suggested that nominal fees could act as an important incentive system which might encourage users to consider alternative solutions. Further, fees could be another revenue source which might potentially fund additional court resources. When I made that post, I didn't realize that the Supreme Court of Canada had already made a ruling on the issue of court fees and access to justice in British Columbia. I'd like to briefly give credit to Ian Mulgrew from the Vancouver Sun, whose 2014 article was the starting point for my review of this Supreme Court decision. That decision is indexed as Trial Lawyers Association of British Columbia versus British Columbia Attorney General. For clarity, this decision was about BC Supreme Court fees, not the provincial court, but I believe the issues have considerable overlap. Briefly, the problem arose when a family law litigant was unable to pay the court hearing fees of $3,600 after a long trial. The trial judge found that the hearing fee system in British Columbia was unconstitutional because it might have prevented this litigant from accessing the courts. The case was appealed and wound its way to the Supreme Court of Canada, the SCC. I love the Supreme Court, but this is not my favorite decision. However, parts of the judgment support my view on court fees. In particular, the court recognized that, quote, hearing fees may be used to defray some of the cost of administering the justice system, to encourage the efficient use of court resources, and to discourage frivolous or inappropriate use of the courts. They further found that, quote, hearing fees paid by litigants who can afford them may be a justifiable way of increasing access to justice overall. Despite this reasoning, they concluded, or the majority concluded, that BC's hearing fee structure, quote, bars access to the superior courts by imposing hearing fees that prevent some individuals from having their private and public law disputes resolved by the courts of superior jurisdiction, end quote. For further clarification, the court added the point of denying access, quote, is reached when the hearing fees in question cause undue hardship to the litigant who seeks the adjudication of the superior court, end quote. On this basis, the SCC struck the entire hearing fee structure as unconstitutional. So for a number of years, there simply was no court hearing fees whatsoever, and that continues to be the case in family law. The province did eventually reinstate civil fees. So arguably, this problem I've identified of missing court fees has worsened in recent years, not gotten better. I don't have a massive data on wait times, either before the elimination of these hearing fees or after, but I would expect that the average length of trials would increase in the absence of court hearing fees, as it simply removes one financial disincentive from having longer trials. Moreover, the additional length in trials would involve more evidence and argument for the judge to weigh in coming to his or her decision. In other words, each trial would place a marginally higher burden on the adjudicator's time and resources. If additional court days, judges, and staff were not made available, these effects would result in an increase in delays, as each trial would simply take up more time and demand more time from the judges and their support staff. It would be interesting to see if the data showed such an increase in the length of trials and in delays as a result of the elimination of court fees. I don't really know where to get that data, so all I have to go on is my own anecdotal experience of long delays in getting matters heard from my clients. This decision raises other interesting questions, but for the sake of brevity, I think it's best if I raise those questions in another video. For now, thank you very much for listening, and be free.